This is Dr. Chris's Radio of Horror show, and tonight on Radio of Horror we have artist Corin Howell on the show with us. She is best known from comic books like Dark Red and Shadow Cirrus? As well as her own distinguishing art style. Thank you for coming on the show with us, Corin.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
What was the first comic book you worked on?
Surprisingly, it was Ben 10, and a Halloween 2-page short for Ben 10.
When the show was on?
I want to say so. It's when they had like redone the art style, and it was like way back in 2013, like a couple weeks after I graduated college from SCAD, and it was like Editor's Day, and that's when they invite a bunch of editors to SCAD in Savannah, Georgia, to do portfolio reviews. And one of the editors was actually my first editor, Joel, who asked me, he's like, "How do you feel about boy action comics?" I was like, "I can do that." And so the first series, like the first ever like comic I worked to in the industry was the Halloween Ben 10 special.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a unique start to get going in the business.
Yeah.
Also very different than what you're normally kind of drawing, really.
Yeah, I went from doing a lot of like all ages stuff to basically finding finding myself in more horror and
dark gothic horror, sexy vampire stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Because you also worked on Transformers as well, right? Yes,
because I am a screaming giant robot fan.
The Wingblade book, right?
Yes, I did. I took over after Sarah left, and I was working with Margaret Scott, and we did the Wingblade Combiner Wars, which was like this big event.
Yes, I collected and read it all.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so you got my money. The book was I enjoyed the Transformer books through that point, and then when Unicron came around and Optimus Prime got his own book, I really started losing interest, but I finished it out at Unicron, and I was just like, what the hell? Optimus Prime and Unicron have a big hug, and that's how it ends? Unicron is sad, so that's why he kills planets. And Optimus Prime is like, I'm here for you, and they hug, and then they die, and I'm like, what the hell is this? No! Unicron is this massive thing of just pure evil. This isn't like Galactus, who's like, oh, he's perceived as evil, but Galactus is actually kind of serving a purpose in the universe. Galactus has never been written as just pure evil either, by the way. He's always been written as, I have to eat. And guess what I eat? Planets.
Unicron, he's basically the devil personified. And it's like, I know the reason why they did it.
Why? Because it sucked.
I know, a lot of people felt the same way, because that also meant like you get to see the death of some very major characters, and that pissed off a lot of fans.
Oh,
they were doing it because they wanted to end IDW 1. I'm still sour that at the end of More Than Meets the Eye, we don't see what exactly happens to Megatron, and I'm still very sour about that.
Right? Like what? Yeah, that plot line is just left hanging. Of like Megatron is left in this other universe, right? And then
no, he like comes back because they extended it to Lost Light,
right?
And it ends with like him being arrested again when they get back to Cybertron, and just like you just don't know what happens. And it's like
that doesn't make any sense. He had a trial. He was acquitted.
Yeah, I know, and it's just like, okay, so he's arrested again. Is he dead? Is he in jail? Like Prime's gone now, so what? Okay, and so I'm still very sour about it. But I know exactly why it was ended like this, because I know it wasn't originally supposed to be ended like that. But yeah, it's like we all I know why they ended it, and it's because they just wanted to end IDW 1.
Right, and then they have the new thing, which I have barely read anything of.
It's a mixed bag.
And it's ending too, because IDW is losing Transformers. They're losing all the Hasbro licenses to possibly Boom Studios, is the rumor.
No, well, I heard Skybound. because Boom doesn't have enough money to really pay for those artists.
And neither does IDW. IDW is constantly in a financial knuffle, or they're in a constant editorial knuffle. I mean, every 5 minutes they have a new editor-in-chief, and it's like, guys, you are seriously not running a good company if you have this many editors-in-chiefs or presidents. You know, people in command of this company are always changing. That's not good.
Yeah, I know John Barber, like, he was my editor on the Wingblade books, and he was the main Transformers editor for a while. And then he became chief, and all of a sudden he was just cast off. He left and he quit, and it's just like, I'm like, what the hell's happening?
The biggest disappointment for the Transformer line for me right now, it ending, is the fact that Beast Wars is going to end so prematurely.
I don't know what they have planned for that. I've only been called in to do covers for that recent run. I do know I have a friend with Skybound that said that they are in talks with Hasbro, and that the release of Skybound getting the rights was premature, but I know they're still talking. We'll see what happens. I just know that my friends, I know that my fellow Transformers fans are kind of pissed because they all love Beast Wars comics.
Beast Wars is good. It's amazing. I really love it. When they announced it, I was like, yes! And it was so good. And you know, it's just a new version of what we see in the cartoon. Dinobot switches sides. We have some new characters that were created for the comic, like the female bat. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of why you're really on here, because your just horror stuff matches your look and your attitude, the way I met you, and I like that, is how do you feel about female Transformers? Because I'm always like, as a kid, I'm like, cool. Then as an adult, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, they came up with a really convoluted plot line about why there were female Autobots, especially with like RC being like a transgender Autobot against her will. And I'm like, wait, what? Are we getting into politics now with like, oh, I was forced to become female and I'm actually this dude who's the brother of Galvatron. And I'm like, what? And then why is Rhinox a bad guy?
It was a very convoluted mess when they did that. It did not go very well politically. It's just like, it was very strange, but I know recently in IDW1, it has come to like the conclusion that they don't have a gender specifically. It just depends on their frame type.
Frame type you're talking about like machine, like robo boobies.
Yeah, like literally it's just like, what's their frame type? But like,
lips, that's what it is, because the guys have a mouth but no lips. It's like just like, opening, closing, shutting doors, whereas the chicks got lips.
Hey, Overlord's got some lips.
And I'm like, oh, and then of course people were like, wait a minute, didn't Simon Ferber once write that Transformers can, like, procreate? I'm like, yeah, not really. It's more asexual, kind of spitting out a new version of yourself. Insects do this too. That makes more sense. I mean, when you see things like, Air Razor and Black Arachnia, like, kissing, which they never show sometimes, because, like, God forbid we show children, characters kissing.
I'm so ingrained in this lore that I know too much about the fandom.
I'm watching it and going, wait, they can't show them kissing? That's weird, because they would like pan the camera away. She would lift her leg up or whatever, and it was very sexy because she was like, this female spider with like Laura Croft sized tits, and
yeah, right.
Which I didn't get until years later. I'm looking at her going, damn, that's right, she does have some like.
It's like RC kissed. What was it? RC got with some
Optimus Prime. Oh, RC. Sorry, Springer.
Yeah, no, was it in the Unicron books? She kissed her like another female Transformer. They have no gender, but it's like in More Than Meets the Eye, Ratchet and Drift are officially married. That is canon now. Cyclonus and Tailgate are also married. That is canon now. RC and another femme, as in the fandom, that's what we call them. Femme as
fembots.
Yeah, she's got
machine gun jugglies. How did I mix those? Try more foreplay next time, a-hole.
It's like, it's official that there are gay robots in the Transformers.
No, I got that. I have a T-shirt that has Ratchet and Clank, Ricochet and Hardhead, Chrome Dome. The Headmasters are just mix up in my brain.
But it's like, yeah, I don't with the female robots. I mean, it's funny that you asked me that question because I just recently got the Flame Toys Windblade.
Now I wish I'd held on to it. That Wingblade toy is worth a lot.
Yeah, I got the model kit, and oh my god, this girl, I want to throw against the wall because her parts are so small.
So let's get into the nitty gritty of what you're really well known for.
Robot love.
So is like the main book like that you've gotten like a lot more attention for was Dark Red with Tim Seeley, because that seems to be a book you did from beginning to end without picking it up from someone else, without being like the secondary artist, the cover artist. You are the artist.
Yep, that's me. Tim originally designed Chip.
Oh yeah, of course, because he is an artist himself too.
Our sexy vampire lady.
Oh my god, I love all the sexy vampire ladies in it. Let me tell you something. That was the book I was just like, this is how I want my book to be. And then we did Vlada, which you've seen. Did you read that, by the way?
Which one?
Vlada?
Oh yeah, I got it. I did.
Did you read it?
Not all the way through. I fell asleep on the plane, actually.
Oh, as long as you were going to tell me I fell asleep reading your book, I'd be like...
No, I was actually on the plane reading it, and then I started nodding off because I was on the plane.
A likely story. But seriously, like that book you did from beginning to end, that was fantastic. And I love that. And that's what I had read the Wingblade thing prior, and I think I've read a couple of other things you did, but I didn't really know who you were until that book. And I was just like, this is really cool art. It's got this Linda Sedgwick Disney kind of like feel to it sometimes. Like if you know who Linda Sedgwick is.
Yeah.
And I was just fascinated by it. And then, the character Chip and whatever, and then we're bringing in the sexy vampire girls. And I was just like, oh, she really draws like a really sexy vampire.
Because like I said, like Tim originally designed Chip and our sexy vampire lady, whose name's Camille. Sorry, Camille. But I wanted to take it a step further because like I love horror and I love weird creature things. I also love like. Dark Red was also like one of the first books that I got picked up on to draw a male lead. Surprisingly, because like for a while I was like, oh, she's a girl artist, so she can draw these girl, lead books, and it's like, okay.
Do you hate that?
I don't hate it. I just like drawing sexy dudes. I mean,
and as a woman, that makes sense if you're straight, you know what I mean? That makes a lot of sense.
It's like I don't get it's just I guess it just kind of it started getting old. I guess
you got pigeonholed into it.
Yeah, it was just like it was like cool, I'm doing this, and then it's like everybody's also doing the same thing. Everybody's doing the female lead, and you know why they're picking these up because they want to be more inclusive with girls and other any gender in comics really, and it's a good thing. It's just that when it keeps reoccurring and it's like, I want a change of pace. So like when I got to draw Chip, it was just like, yeah, I got to draw this dude now. And Tim kept giving me crap about it for like, oh, you're drawing him too muscular. I'm like, he's a vampire.
But he's like an average vampire. Technically also based on, he's based on Tim's,
granddad.
Yeah, granddad.
So it's like, Tim, your granddad was in the World War II. Like, he had to have been muscular in some form to fight them Nazis. Like, just having a point where like where Chip goes all vampire, like just ruthless, monstrous vampire mode, and that's where all like everything's just shown like how strong he is and how powerful he can be, but also how like he can also decide what's right and wrong, or he knows what right and wrong is. But it's like I actually started having fun with it, with drawing Chip being our main lead than some of the other books that I worked on.
This part will get cut out because this is very private. But I've read a little bit about you, and I remember hearing a little bit about that as well, about you liking this, wanting to draw the male lead. And I was thinking a little bit about Blood Red, Dark Red, excuse me. I always call it Blood Red. And people get confused, like, I can't find this book. I'm like, oh, it's called Dark Red. That's why. And I was like, I wonder if Corin would team up. If I could, like, secure it. I don't know who would I have to go to. I'd obviously have to hunt down in England somebody. What about a comic book about, because, and what you just said about the really interested in, like, your grandfather hunted Nazis. What about a book that was written about, a comic book about Christopher Lee's time as a Nazi hunter?
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. But what if we couldn't, like, get the rights to Christopher Lee, and we'd have to create the character and just be like, this is in honor of Christopher Lee, because which would probably be a lot easier than having to worry about paying an estate.
Oh my God, I can just imagine, like, reading.
And it looks like Christopher Lee. It's like an homage to Christopher Lee. You know what I mean?
His deep voice and everything.
Right. And after you just said that, I was just like, I wonder if she would be interested in something like that if I could come up with the idea of, like, what it would be about. And not supernatural. You know what I mean? There's no vampires. It's just Nazis. But kind of do some research on everything you know about Chris and just kind of come up with a story. I'm like, I wonder if she would be interested in drawing that as, like, a one-shot or something,
Maybe for, like a one-shot.
Yeah, not a series. That would be a little bit much even for me. And I was just like, I wonder if I pitched that to her, she would be interested in that.
I know there's a lot of World War II books, like a lot of European books, European comics. There is I'm trying to remember who the artist was, but it was a really beautiful graphic novel from France about when people of color were signing up to fight in World War II, and how, like, just, they were treated so differently, but it's like the way he handled it was so well done. And that was the book I went back to when I was drawing those World War II scenes in Dark Red.
Interesting. So where does the love of horror come from?
Oh God. So ever since I was a kid, I went to Catholic school for 12 years of my life.
Wow.
And
so first grade to
kindergarten
to senior year?
Yep.
Wow.
And so there's a bit of, like, we kind of just, like, been repressed, like, it's like being told a lot, like, don't draw this, that you're not gonna get people's interest. It's like, oh, this is not proper, or blah blah blah. But my escape would be drawing, and also my dad had a massive VHS movie collection back in the 90s. Still does. He still has them. And when DVDs came around, he started collecting those too. And so he had collected over the years, and like his first movie was Jaws, and he collected all these movies over the years. And so he had all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And Freddy became my very first horror love. And like from there, it like me discovering that I really love, like, creature features, any sort of, like, weird creepy monsters like Alien, and, like, I remember, like, liking that dumb Jennifer Lopez movie Anaconda with Ice Cube in it as a kid. Like anything with, like, giant creatures or, like, some sort of weird demon supernatural creature element to them. It kind of just stemmed from there, and it's like my favorite movie of all time, and my number one is Jurassic Park. So I guess I want to say that's where the creature love started. But my first horror love was Nightmare on Elm Street, and that kind of grew over time. But being in Catholic school for 12 years of my life, I've had to, like, kind of hide that stuff quite a number of years, until in the past decade I started to realize, like, oh, this is what I really like drawing, so screw it, this is what I'm going to draw now.
Where did you go to art school?
I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design. SCAD.
SCAD. Ah, okay, so that was the SCAD that you'd mentioned. What what did they have you draw there that you fought back against? You wanted to do your own thing, or were you allowed to be the freedom as an artist?
I was allowed, like, we were allowed the freedom of doing what we wanted with said, assignments. It's just that I didn't, like, I was still in that mindset of, like, am I allowed to draw this? That sort of thing. Thinking that I need somebody's permission when in reality I didn't really need anybody's permission, but I was still kind of stuck in that mindset. And so it took me a bit to realize, like, oh, I can actually not draw. I don't need anybody's permission to draw what I want. I can just do whatever I want. But the hard part about it was, how are you going to sell yourself once you graduate? And at that time, it was drawing more family-friendly sort of styles, or the Transformers comics. And so that's what I kind of worked with for a little while until I started, upping the ante and and growing in my style and wanting to do more mature, books.
When you mentioned that you really wanted to draw more like sexy guys and stuff like that, you do have like of course a lot of like vampire pinup stuff of really hot, sexy vampire women, and not any guys I notice. Especially that book I bought from you at the con.
The sexy guy thing is actually like, it's like I've been trying to get better at drawing men, but it's like
you have that whole book with Chip in it. He looks pretty good,
right? I mean, you can still grow and get better at it, because it's like, and there is
nothing wrong with the artwork in Dark Red.
Oh, thank you.
Seriously, your robots are a little cartoony, but that's fine. It's your style.
Oh god, that is so old. I've gotten better, thankfully. But there is truth to the whole fact it's like, if depending on your gender, you are better at drawing your gender than the other. So it's like women are better at drawing women than drawing men, and it's like it takes a while. It's not like that for everybody, but I mean,
right. And I have the same attitude about, like, I have a better time writing women than I do writing guys, and I don't know why. And someone said to me, "Oh, that's because you're secretly like transgender." And I'm like, "Wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. There are millions of male writers that write females because they just like the aesthetic is very pleasing. I think it's more like I'm straight and I love women, so I find in myself always putting women into a heroic role because I love trying to find the balance of them being hot and sexy, but at the same time being like the heroine. I'm not a big fan of writing damsels in distress, Yeah,
that's like, it's a down-to-earth writing. You understand the female mind more than most writers do.
Yeah, I want to write women as like these powerful beings, but I still would write them to look like Laura Croft.
Yeah, when they're hot, and they're hot.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm not afraid to write, women with body features that make some people be offended about. Like I'm assuming you're in travels, you've met Jim Valiant and his wife Holly, right?
I have not actually.
Okay, do you know who they are?
No.
Oh, really?
No, here's the thing about me. I'm pretty here, and I get shit. I get stuff. I get a lot of crap from my friends about this, especially like because I'm friends with a lot of guys. I get it from my boyfriend too. I grew up with more manga than I did with American comics.
Gotcha.
So when my friends are like, "Oh my god, this person's coming to the convention," I'll be like, who is that?
So Jim and Holly do Tarot Witch of the Black Rose. Have you heard of that comic book?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so that's him.
Okay.
And he gets a lot of crap from critics and commenters on YouTube and stuff like that. And, he's been in some documentary, not him, but his comic books have been in some documentaries where women, point out, like, the disgustingness of his art style. And him and Holly take it very much in, like, a happy stride of just, like, then don't read the comic book. It's not for you.
Don't read it.
But also his fan base is, like, 60% female.
So there's a bit of, okay.
And yeah, he draws women with giant freaking breasts, and it shows the downstairs business, you know what I mean? And shows them naked a lot. But he's not showing them in, like, they're getting whipped and chained up and, like, scratched and fighting monsters, but they're not ever getting, like, sexually assaulted.
They're not in provocative poses all the time.
Well, they are, actually, but
okay.
you've never seen the covers. Yes, they are.
I mean, it's like when people. I mean, I kind of feel the same way. I get frustrated about that too, where it's like people call Milo Manara sexist.
Who's that?
And I'm like, Milo Manara?
Yeah, I don't know that name.
Let's see. Do you remember that controversial Spider-Woman cover?
Oh, the one by Frank Cho?
Hold on.
That was Frank Cho.
Was it Frank Cho?
Yeah, because these idiots never bothered to read like Liberty Meadows, which was his funny comic strip with like a busty main character. And they never like bothered to look up like his art style, and they see this like one thing, and the internet like loses his mind. But his fan base like came out supportive of him like hardcore, you know what I mean? And I remember being on like this like the side of the fan base because I am a huge fan of his. Nice guy in the world, really, wicked nice wife too, and being like, I was in 100% support of that complete internet meltdown about your artwork, and he's like, I appreciate it. And I was like, how often does that happen? And he's just like, I think it's mostly people who just don't ever see what I draw. So, and I'm never being offensive about stuff. Like he did one, like there's a cover of like Supergirl pointing out Power Girl's, costume outline, oval thing, whatever. Literally just poking her finger right into her tits. You know what I mean? And it's done in a comedic way. And I know people will get offended by that because of like body whatever, but I don't consider it body shaming.
Spider-Woman, or was it Spider-Gwen?
It was Spider-Woman, I think. It was Jessica Drew. I remember it being Jessica Drew. Because I remember he did one with Stan Lee doing it, too, afterwards.
Okay, so it's like, I think I shared the link in the chat there, and I want to say...
hold on a second. Let me see if I can get my chat to open up. My chat won't open up for some reason.
Oh, no.
All right, just email it to me.
Okay.
We got like less than 10 minutes left to the Zoom call, kind of.
Okay.
All right.
But yeah, like Milo Manara is he's Italian.
Uh-huh.
And he let's say he is he draws a lot of he's just a very horny old dude, but
like Tim Vigil.
It's just like his art's like so fun to me. Like they're all like pinup and gorgeous women.
Right. I mean, have you ever seen Tim Vigil's artwork?
Yeah.
His artwork is either horrific or it is pornographic, and he does not care. And people love, like, he's got a big fan base because his art style is just so incredibly detailed. And he's done Vlada, you know what I mean? He's done covers for me. And we've done the more conservative kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's a victim Vlada has just bitten, or Vlada leaning over something, so she is just like falling out of her dress. You know what I mean? So, and I could have gone darker. Now, sketch cover wise, he's done a lot of sketch covers with white Vlada covers or whatever, and he's putting the full bush out there. I mean, the one he's working on right now has like business being shown downstairs.
Okay. I just emailed it to you.
Okay, cool. So, back to the original question about sexy female vampire artwork. You drew that by choice, so...
Yeah, I mean, I also, like, besides, like... I mean, like, I like drawing just... Again, it all comes back to me feeling like I need permission to draw this stuff, and it's like, it just feels like the repressed feelings of wanting to draw the stuff I wasn't allowed to draw is coming out, and this is the reason why. So it's like I like drawing sexy men, I like drawing sexy women.
Draw all the sexy vampire women, because that art book that I bought from you is awesome, and the stuff I've seen online that's not in that book is just like, wow. I love the red and the black. What is it about red and black, by the way, that it seems to be your signature style?
I've always liked red.
Because you're a redhead?
Yeah. Well, I'm not natural.
Oh, really? Okay.
But, like, my natural color is very boring in my opinion, but I've always liked red and black. I mean, it's like from my dad. Like my dad prefers things in black. Like he has big black truck. Most of what he wears is dark colors when he goes out. He's a huge fan of Batman, so I want to say that's where it came from, liking the dark colors.
And this is the guy that sent you to Catholic school.
Mom did, actually, but yeah.
You ever go back to a class reunion? Have you had a class reunion? I don't know how old you are. You don't have to tell me, but have you gone to a class reunion yet where you just bring like something that's been successful that you worked on and just been like, aha! Look what I do! You son of a
There was a reunion, but I did not go. I refused to go.
Damn it! You should have gone. You should have like whipped out the friggin' book to the penguins and been like, "Look what I do." What was that?
Look at the sexy stuff I just drew.
I know. That's what you should do. Then you should like whip it out with like the you should whip out the cover with the nun on it and just be like, "Hey!"
Oh my god.
Well, that was Tim's artwork, but that sexy nun is in that book. So look at this. The sexy nun even has a vampire feeding off of her.
It would have been great. God, I know.
Yeah, that's what you should have done. Then you'd just been like, mic drop.
The cars were just not in the day of travel.
No, I understand completely. What are you working on coming up before we let you go?
I am still working on Shadow Service.
Okay.
I am working on a secret project that can't quite talk about it much yet.
Oh.
But it is also with Volt.
Cool.
And it's solely my creation. My creations, so to speak. I'll give a hint. It is plural, not singular. So there is more than one specific item in said deck.
Okay, cool.
And so yeah, Shadow Service and that other secret project. I might be doing a short for Archie. They want me to do a
very cool
short horror comic for their anthologies. I've been contacted by DC about doing something, but I don't know yet.
Oh, are you staying like a freelance agent?
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like you want to. You got all these companies or whatever, so it's not like you're worried about having to be tied down in one place and then start like, oh, look at that, DC's going to pay me $400 a page.
Yeah,
crap. There goes every independent project I can work on because I'm a $400 page girl now.
Yeah, I am I've been mostly freelance for a while. I mean, but for like the past couple of years, I've been working mainly with either Aftershock or Aftershock that did Dark Red or Vault that does Shadow Service. Shadow Service I know is going to be going for another. I'm just starting issue 14, so
cool.
We're going for another arc.
Fantastic.
I know, right? It's great. And I might be doing New York Comic Con. We'll see. I still don't know if I got in yet or not, but hopefully I will. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got on the table so far. Besides drawing Lilith, which is my red and black sexy demon creature lady that I have on Instagram. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have so far.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Corin, for coming on the show. Talk a little bit about your career and life, how it led to where you are now in the dangerous worlds of being a comic book artist.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so where's the stop button? There we go.